Here we are. Welcome, 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 everyone. Peace and blessings wherever you are tuning in from the world. Welcome to the African Unicorns. Happy 2021, shall we say. It's coming on and starting strong. Unlike my internet in Egypt at the moment. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes to log on, to tune in, to get settled. Take a moment to share the screen, share this live on your pages. If you don't already like our Facebook page, please like and share our Facebook page. For a second there, I thought Ines was talking to us, but she's muted. I will have her say a few things while I do that. Okay.
Hey, sorry, I was just setting up the live on Instagram. But hello, welcome everybody.
We have Ramona from Chicago. Welcome, Ramona. Thank you for tuning in. For those who don't know, this is the African Unicorns show. We are here ranting rainbows and bringing magic from all our people from the continent and the diaspora. And this episode is about celebrations, how we come together as a people wherever we are.
Yeah.
Why we come together, how we do it, how we did it last year, what we celebrated, and head wrap season. Funny. Yafat Girmay tuning in. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And Robin Ahmad. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Please tell us where you're tuning in from. Take a moment to share this video. Stay tuned. If you know people who are particularly serious about their celebrations, about their coming togethers, tag them, because we want input. For the first time here, we are going to be learning about different holidays. So as we get started, my name's Dima Mahmoud. I am Nubian from Sudan, tuning in from Egypt at the moment. And I am one of the African Unicorns. Who else do we have?
Hey, Dima, it's Ines. Ines is back to the States, unfortunately. I was just in Sudan. I came back last week. So we had our show last 2 weeks ago, all of us on the continent. And sorry to break up the group and be back in Maryland, where it's a little bit cold. But yeah, happy to be here and sharing all the good stories out of Africa, new perspectives, and just to share the plenty of the good. We're excited that it's 2021, closing 2020 with all the pain and agony that it brought. And the pandemic, and we're being hopeful here and starting the new year on a positive note and on celebrations. And here as the Unicorns, we sort of set the intentions to start the year talking about positive things and setting our intention for more to celebrate and more to look forward to. And as the new year comes in 2021, hoping that it's bearing us a lot of good. So we thought to bring the show here and show you guys how we celebrate, just from our perspectives here, from representing a lot of different places in Africa and outside of that, in the diaspora as well. And everyone knows people of African ancestry like to party and celebrate, and we take our celebrations seriously because it's what we do. It's how we stay sane, and We like to party. So yeah.
Not just like to party, we know how to party. We know how to come together. I'll just say that.
That too. All right. So that was my introduction. We'll go next to Zaytoun. You want to go in? Introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Zaytoun and I am from Kenya.
Woo-hoo! Did you just like wait for the applause?
No, I froze because this is kind of a tell me about yourself question in a job interview and you don't know what to say anymore beyond my name is Zaytoun and I'm from here. Struggle. But yeah, I look forward to this conversation and learning about the different holidays that we all celebrate, the shared holidays that we celebrate, and what new holidays we can come up with, because, you know, we're always open to taking more time off from the year.
Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Jara, are you back yet? She might not be. Jara got called for a moment, so she's not with us right now. So I will take this moment to introduce Taalib, who is joining us for the first time and actually is officially the first guest for African Unicorns as a live show. Because one of the intentions we've set here is to also learn, not just from the circle of the African Unicorns, but from each of our respective circles. And speaking about celebrations, I personally celebrated a holiday for the first time this year, and it was because Taalib was sharing this and tagging to say, how are you going to be celebrating this? Not just tagging me, but tagging his friends as well, to see how we're celebrating this. So I don't really know how to introduce Taalib. Go and check out Taalib_S on Instagram, because there's a lot going on there and there's a lot that he does. But as was very rightly put in the description, Pan-African extraordinaire, warrior of justice, educator. He's definitely here as an educator today. Taalib, tell us where you are, a little bit of who you are.
Peace. Hotep. Assalamu alaikum. Salam. Habari za mchana. Paz familia. I always like to start off like that because our people are so diverse, speak so many different languages, that I want to make sure that I am able to at least capture a bit of it, you know. But I definitely give thanks to the Queens here for inviting me on, you know, to be able to talk and to build with you all, because it's like a community. This is a community space. So being able to exchange ideas, information, and all the things, I'm honored to be the first guest. Like that's you know, Dima, you really know how to pack the weight on a brother's shoulders. I'll just say that. But yeah, so so a little bit of background. I'm an attorney by trade, but I also am a filmmaker and an activist. So I do a lot of work as it relates to building and bridging the gap between the Africans here that were born in the diaspora, namely African Americans and those in the West, and the Africans that are on the continent. So that encompasses like majority of the work that I do.
I am just writing on our page for people to where people can find you. Here we are. So we had a whole order. We do have one more unicorn who's not with us today, and that's Jean-Michel. We send love, light, and prayers. Hope everything is well. We present you here. You are with us in the space in spirit. So what we were going to do is start talking about what we celebrated in 2020. And we had this whole structure. So just to give you time to breathe, Taalib, after you introduced yourself. But then Zaytun said, hang on, Kwanzaa means first in Swahili, so Taalib should go first. So it wasn't me putting anything on your shoulder this time. It's just the meaning of the word. I do want to start by saying I'm personally very curious about this holiday because I never heard of it until I went to the States, and not one African I know knows about it or celebrates it on the continent. So please tell us, what is Kwanzaa?
Absolutely. So Kwanzaa in Swahili means first fruits. And just to give you a little bit of background, our people here who were the descendants of kidnapped Africans that were brought and sold and enslaved on this land, we've been fighting for years. I mean, that's just the history of African people generally, but specifically us in the diaspora in the West have been fighting for years. And how Kwanzaa came about was during the 60s, during the civil rights era and movement of the 60s, you had different types of organizations that were out there. You had the Nation of Islam, which is still present. You have the SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. You had CORE. You had the Black Panther Party. And then you had the US organization. And the founder and creator of Kwanzaa, Maulana Karenga, came from the US movement. And in 1966, he decided because he was more so of, at that time, more so of what we refer to as a cultural nationalist. So he was all about really being able to bring our people back to our original state of mind, politically, socially, and especially culturally. So in 66, he decided to, with others, of course, because nobody works alone, but with others, he decided to formulate a holiday that would be able to encompass us in the fight here and also connect us to the continent and give us a semblance of our roots and our heritage during a time in which Christmas was normally celebrated. I believe Hanukkah is celebrated around that time as well, and other holidays, but to really give us something that we can call our own and that we can practice African principles that aren't just based in Swahili speaking countries, but just that are akin to African people generally. And this was over a course of this would be over a course of 7 days. So that's a bit of the history of Kwanzaa and how it came to be.
Yes, thank you. And I'm hoping that, so we're normally live streaming just on the AfrikanUnicorns page, but today we're live streaming on the For Black Power platform and the Africa Week 2020 platform, because we really thought we need more of us to know of this celebration, more of the principles. As I said, I personally, for the first time last year, it's going to take some time to go from the last year to this year situation. Well, just work with me here. For the first time for 2020 to actually follow these principles and reflect on these principles and see what it means. So I look forward to people engaging with us, commenting. If this is something that you celebrate, you grew up celebrating, you are just learning about, please tell us in the comments, share with us some of your experiences. Taalib, what are the principles that we celebrate?
Sure. So as I stated previously, the Kwanzaa is 7 days. And it starts on the day after Christmas, which is December 26th, and it ends January 1st, right? And each day you overtly practice a principle that would help to enhance your existence as a spiritual being, living a human experience, and us as a collective, So the first day of Kwanzaa is called Umoja. And Umoja is a representation of unity. And we practice Umoja by doing things that create and help maintain having strong families and creating a community that we as a people will be able to maintain that unity. That's the first day. The second day is I love saying this word. So but Kuji is the second day, and that means self-determination. So we must stand up for ourselves. We must be able to not let anyone decide for us what our future will be, name ourselves, create stuff for ourselves, things of the nature. So the true essence of self-determination, Kuji Chakalinga. And the third day is Ujima. Ujima is a collective work and responsibility. So we must work together and help each other and take responsibility for our problems and our solutions, not waiting for an outside force, anybody outside of our own to come to save us, but to actually do the work collectively together as a unit, as a people. The fourth day is Ujima, and this means we celebrate this, meaning collective group economics, cooperative economics. So being able to support our own financially, because if you don't know, then you should know today that in order for us to truly sustain ourselves, particularly in this paradigm in which we live in, there has to be an economic base for us to come together to support our ideas, support the agendas that we have, the philosophies that we have in order to sustain it. You know, we can talk until we're blue in the face about liberation, but there are people that face day-to-day issues, you know, that would really need the assistance that being able to pour and keep your money into your community would greatly assist in building infrastructure and building schools and building the institutions that are needed to just sustain us as a community. And that's the fourth day. So the fifth day is Nia. Nia means purpose. So we must make it our purpose to maintain the dignity of our ancestors. It's important to maintain the families, build communities, attend colleges, and open businesses. And the purpose to be able to reclaim our rightful place in the world. And purpose is definitely something that's near and dear to me, because once I found my purpose, I haven't been wavering from it. And it's a sense of, you get a sense of strong sense of self-confidence and assurance when you do realize what your purpose is. And when you move in that purpose, you notice so many things start to open up for you and align for you. And that's how you know that it's spiritually divine. So that's the fifth day. The sixth day is Kuumba. Now, is it Zaytun? Did I pronounce it correctly?
Zaytun.
Zaytun. So since we have our dear comrade who is Kenyan, I actually have built with a couple of my brothers and sisters who are Kenyan, who may have had a bit of issue with this word, because Kuumba, as it was explained to me, meant more so of the creator's creativity. So like the higher power, the deity, whereas it's used in Kwanzaa to mean just general creativity. But creativity, our ancestors made, you know, music, they danced, they created beautiful works of art. And it's up to us to be able to create our own art. It's up to us to be able to make the community proud, you know, and a lot of things that we've done over the centuries has always been something that was an expression of our just political, social, and spiritual selves. It wasn't say religion. It wasn't what is that called? It wasn't I'm drawing a blank. It was just a way of life for us. It wasn't like picked off as in silos for something else. Like everything we did was always like in harmony and coordination with everything else that we did, and we didn't see it as a separate entity. So being able to revive that and continue to strive in it, because you see it nowadays. It's practice. Kuumba is practice every day. If you look at, our musicians, you look at our entertainers, you look at our teachers, our mentors, people in general. Every day we do creative things, but this allows us an opportunity to really hone in on it, because you can get caught up in the rat race of the day-to-day mundane stuff that you do, not realizing that you're creating every day and honoring that creativity and that creation that you do have. That's the 6th day. And the last day, 7th day, is Amani, and it means faith. So we must have faith in ourselves, in our own beliefs and abilities, and each other, so that way we can succeed in the future. And I think it's an awesome day to end on, because in order to do all of the other aspects, you have to have faith to execute. You have to have faith to have the confidence to do it. You have to have faith in your brother or your sister to be able to help you, to support you, So those are the 7 days of Kwanzaa, and each principle is practiced every day. But I'd be remiss not to say that these aren't just principles that you practice during Kwanzaa. This is supposed to be practiced 365 days, 66 during the leap year, of the year, to reinforce and make sure that this is incorporated in every aspect of human activity that you do. And it's also extracted out of a lot of some of the things that the other holidays may represent. The principles of Kwanzaa you can apply to any of those holidays. And not only that, Kwanzaa doesn't replace any of the holidays. You can practice Kwanzaa if you still want to practice Christmas, or observe Christmas. You can practice Kwanzaa during Hanukkah. You can practice Kwanzaa during any other holiday. It doesn't replace it.
And Taalib, I know you mentioned there's a lot of reflection, and as it relates to each of the principles. And I'm wondering, when it comes to like the celebration part, is there something particular that people come together as a group to celebrate, or share intentions or thoughts or reflections, or is it more of an individual observance?
Now you can, when pre-pandemic, you would celebrate every day. Like, I know in this area, I'm in the Washington, D.C. metro area, in Maryland, but every year that I've participated in Kwanzaa, or since I've participated in Kwanzaa, there have always been celebrations every day. There would maybe some youth playing steel drums, and a celebration on the first day, or on the 4th day, there may be, a recitation, a recital of some infamous work, or on the 7th day, so you can literally practice this collectively every day, and have these big celebrations every day. But it's not specific, it's not specific to just a sole individual. Like, the whole purpose of Kwanzaa is to promote family and community. Now there is, on the 6th day, there is like a feast that you can come together to do, to practice the collectivism and coming together as a community. But I would encourage us to celebrate this not only with our families, but with the greater community at large, because, as you may bear witness to, the larger that we are, the more of us that are congregated, the higher the spirit and the energy is for us to be on one accord on a lot of stuff, as well as being able to have some things in which we request, or that we demand in certain instances, being met.
Ashay to that. I find it interesting that you say, or it could be that you end in faith, but it being the 1st of January, I say we start, like, it's almost like you're starting, even though one of the things I've learned in 2020 is that the 1st of January isn't really our new year, isn't
Right.
really a new year. And that it's been a very enlightening year. But it's how things are, you know, January 1st being the first of the year, and, you know, the first of the 365 or 366, as you said, on a leap year, that day is celebrated in faith, that it's a reflection in faith. I found that in my reflection, in your encouragement of reflecting for these different principles, quite powerful, because you're really reflecting on the 365 days before, or 364 days before, and the ones to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious as to why we're not celebrating it as such on the continent, why we don't have more of that. I mean, Africa Liberation Days also primarily on the continent, in the diaspora over the continent, and I'm wondering, how do we start bringing? That's a whole other session and a whole other live, I'm sure, to bring these celebrations to the continent, because I find so much value in them and so much education. And okay, I tried learning as much as I can, again, from the post of my friends who were sharing how they reflect on each of these principles, and I'd love to see more of it.
If I may,
Please.
there's a good analogy when it comes to how we used to travel pre the Columbian period or colonization, and where we came from. We would take, be it trinkets, food, or something else, and transport it to our destination. And when we get there, we'll see the indigenous people of that land, or maybe people who have traveled prior to that arrived, that have been there for some time. And we would exchange. It'll be exchange of information, exchange of certain products, exchange of, you know, customs and things of the kind. So in order for us to truly be able to embrace the Pan-Africanism that Kwanzaa does exemplify, I would say that there has to be an intentional effort to be able, for those that know, to be able to, whether it be, the word escapes me, excuse me, whether it be to travel, to be able to impart some of this information, or to intentionally have the brothers and sisters who happen to be, say, in the United States, that are like first generation, second generation continental Africans, to actively participate within our holiday here. Because what will happen is, and I had a brother of mine, his name is Ali, I believe he's Lewis, so he's from Kenya, and we were talking just on this very topic about how he can be more, how he can participate more within some of the things that we do here just in the United States, but specifically with Kwanzaa. And I said this would be an excellent opportunity for our brothers and sisters who are from Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, any of the Swahili speaking nations, just to point them out, to integrate into this, because it's Swahili. Like, you speak, Tanzania is the most perfect speaking Swahili country. So it's like, what greater opportunity would it be to have native speakers of the language come into this holiday or this festivity that we have, that is supposed to embody, and that does embody Pan-Africanism and African liberation and just togetherness and all these things, to understand Swahili even more so, and expand it just beyond the naming of the days or the particular articles that are used to celebrate the days, and things of the kind. Like, I think it would be an excellent opportunity to integrate that. And then also, if it is from a educational perspective, like if we can have programs that were on the continent that we may be able to endorse or possibly be a part of during the pandemic, virtually, having gatherings with our friends or even our comrades that are there, to let them know, okay, well, this is the canard that we'll send you that. These are the candles. This is the mat. These are some books. Ship it over. You can, or even email some of the documents and things of that nature to get them more abreast as to what's going on with it, and also integrate it into the day-to-day and see the correlation as to how that would help to enhance your life. So even if there's a particular struggle that's going on the continent, highlighting the fact that, say for instance, so in Ghana a couple of years ago, I do recall there was an issue with, I believe it was the Lebanese that was there, and they were the shopkeepers. And it was one instance where a shopkeeper threw salt in her sister's face or something like that because she messed up an order, I believe it was. And the men were highly upset at that. And I know my comrades that were down there were. So I can't remember if they boycotted that business or not, but being able to use, say, the principle of Ujamaa, which would be supporting African-owned businesses, that would be an excellent opportunity to say, okay, well, we need to practice Ujamaa, and let's support these Ghanaian businesses and business owners that actually have the best interests of the people at heart. And you can transplant that ideology anywhere within the continent or wherever Black people are throughout the world, and you can say, okay, well, you're practicing Ujamaa. Like, you can have someone say, what is Kwanzaa? Well, you're practicing Ujamaa right there when you do that. Oh, I didn't know that. Tell me more about it. You see, so you start to get the wheels churning in their minds about what Kwanzaa is and how it's embodied. And we need to use the media to be able to continue to expose it, because those who do not know may not have access to it. And you just don't know because you don't have access to it. So those are a couple of things that come to mind.
I mean, you put it out there, Taalib. You cannot say this is on me.
Mm-hmm.
When you come back closer to Kwanzaa, to actually bring some brothers and sisters, regardless of what the situation is with this pandemic or not, to share what these principles mean or how they're embodied in their personal lives. I'm just going to put this out there. That's a great idea. I would like us to personally do something about it as the African Unicorns. Maybe we can look at these principles throughout the year and come closer to the end of December and revisit it and see, okay, is there a way that we can take these back with us for our second Africa edition and see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for it. I have no problem with it whatsoever. We can do a whole program on it if you would like. We can definitely make it pop. And then also I can build with my comrades, because we have a couple of comrades, elders. Mama, I'm not sure if the family's familiar with Mama C. So Charlotte O'Neill and MZ Pete O'Neill. They are I don't like to say former, they're Black Panthers that left the United States because of the issues that were going on here and the injustice that they were receiving here. And they went to Algeria. Now, mind you, this was back in the early 70s, late 60s, I believe. So they went initially to Algeria because at the time, during the 70s, Algeria was they were protective of those that were seeking political asylum with that particular regime. And then they went down to Tanzania when Mwalimu Nyerere, the president, was still alive and over there. And they continued to use the principles of the Panther Party, because I was there in 2015 and 2015. Excuse me. They continued to use the principles of the Black Panther Party, which is feeding our people, clothing our people, sheltering our people. And they had a small plot of land that has since expanded to several acres. And now it's a beautiful compound where they have an orphanage there. So they take care of some of the young brothers and sisters who either have lost their parents to disease or death, or maybe just don't have the resources to be able to take care of them. But they have that. They have a whole farm there. They have different classrooms where they teach technology, they teach English, they teach what is that called? Entertainment. So like music and things of the kind, if they want to dive into that. And they have a well that was built, peace be upon his name, Geronimo Pratt, who was a former Black Panther Party member as well. But he donated, I think, $10,000 for them to build a well that services everyone that's in that entire like area. So they come to get like water and stuff like that. And then down the street there's a library, I believe it is, and some of those children come over. But they're taking the same exact principles that they were taught during the Black Panther Party era when it was at its highest, and they're still doing it now. And mind you, these elders are like in their, I think Baba Pete just turned 80 and Mama C is like late 70s. But I bring them up because they practice Kwanzaa. And they're in Arusha, Tanzania. So they practice Kwanzaa and they've implemented the principles of Kwanzaa, and all those who either are traveling to, or even those that are in the compound, and those in whom because Mama C is an artist as well. So those of whom come, they practice the principles. And these are brothers and sisters who are Tanzanian. So I can reach out to them as well to see if they would be able to participate within, and maybe even bring some of the young brothers and sisters.
Yes, please. And if you can share with us the links to, if there are any links that we can find, or websites or videos, if you can share that with us, whether it's in the private chat or drop them in the comment, that would be great. I know you always share another source of knowledge for people to continue seeking it, which I love about that. Please do that. We have Mishdi tuning in saying summertime celebrations are necessary as well. Yes, they are. Mishdi, tell us how you celebrate, what summertime celebrations you do. And Beto, much love, much love, Beto. Tell us how you celebrate. We have Jara who's tuned in. Jara, do you want to tell us where you're tuning in from, and what did you celebrate in 2020?
Hi, sorry for being late. I am tuning in from Senegal, West Africa. And I spent like half of 2020 in the US, but in Senegal we celebrate a bunch of holidays, some that are ours and some that are not our holidays. We celebrate, the usuals like both Eids. We do Christmas, we do New Year's. We do Mardi Gras, which people find very weird, but we do Mardi Gras. We, I know, it's actually like our Halloween for some weird reason. A lot of people know about Mardi Gras. Well, now Halloween, we kind of celebrate, it seems like. We celebrate something called Gammo. I think it's the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. And we celebrate something else called Magal. There's a whole story to that. We celebrate that in Tuba. Why am I saying it like you guys know what Tuba is? There's a region in Jobel, and then Tuba is there. And it's like it's like a pilgrimage that people do. I can explain all that later. I'm sure I'm forgetting other holidays, but we celebrate a lot of holidays in Senegal. We're very festive people.
I'm curious about how we celebrate. Like what happens? Like what happens at these parties? And I know that's different, I think, from when you go in Africa, really, when you go anywhere, and even within any country in Africa, like in Sudan, like all the celebrations are either traditionally different because of like where you are and in what region or what tribe. There are certain traditions that happen that are maybe particular to one region or one area or one group, but not necessarily like everywhere else. And I mean, generally with all of, and just like my experience in Sudan and how we celebrate just together collectively as people, there's a lot of, I mean, the emphasis is on togetherness and unity and coming together to share the good always and have a laugh and just share a happy time together, really. So it ends up being a lot of like friends and family like coming over. There's a lot of food. So I'm curious to hear more about that. If that's kind of a shared theme, like Senegal, Kenya, Egypt. I mean, really all over. So I guess I don't know, Zaytun, do you wanna say something about how Kenya, what is being celebrated, I guess, in Kenya, or what have you celebrated in 2020, and how did that take place?
Yeah, it was interesting when you guys said that this was going to be the topic of conversation, because I realized I think there's the basics, right? There's the usual nationally recognized holidays. Heroes Day, which basically in Swahili is Mashuja, which celebrates the freedom fighters and also those who helped build the nation after we gained independence. There's the usual Independence Day, Jamhuri Day. There is Madaraka Day, which is the day it's celebrated 6 months before Independence Day, because that's when we attained internal self-rule. And then Independence Day is when we became fully independent. Yeah, other usual ones, as you all are all aware of, Labor Day. So there are those basic ones. Then, as Jara said, for the Muslims, there's Eid, the two Eids. Christmas, I would say what's good with, and I'm sure it's probably the same in Kenya, I'm not sure about, in Senegal, I'm not sure about Sudan, and that is these are public holidays no matter your religion. So Eid is a public holiday for the whole country. Muslims and non-Muslims celebrate it together. Christmas is a public holiday, so nobody is discriminated against in that sense. And then there's then other ways we celebrate, or other things which are not necessarily holidays, but they're probably more important, which would be things like weddings. So for me, when I thought about celebrations, I was thinking about celebrations like weddings, which are huge deals in our cultures. It's not just about two people, it's a coming together of families. I don't know which African family doesn't want their child to get married, and once you come home with that kind of talk, then you're going to be removed. So it's expected that a marriage is going to be happening, inshallah. So that's another thing that we celebrate and we make a huge deal out of. Within the marriage, then there's more interesting cultural dynamics. So for us, as a Muslim, yes, we do the nikah, but as Somalis, we also have something called Shash Sar, which is an event just for the ladies, which is basically a piece of cloth that's put on a lady's head during the event. So Shash Sar literally means to put on the shash. And it's only done by married women. Only married women can put the cloth on the girl's head. It's sort of a welcoming into the club for the newly married woman. And it's done after the nikah, so once she's officially a married woman. So there are variations. There are other cultures that have their own cultural practices within for weddings. There are people that celebrate circumcision, and there's some tribes in Kenya that make it a whole festival around the circumcision of men, young boys. I hear, in fact, there's this one tribe that is interesting when they discover a whole grown-ass man who has not yet to be circumcised. Then he is in fact dragged out by the community. So sometimes you'll be driving on the street and you'll find this grown-ass man who is being escorted by the tribe and the members of the tribe to go take him for his circumcision, because it is very important. There are celebrations of births, depending on the tribes that you come from, or the background that you have culturally, there are people that celebrate births differently, and go beyond just acknowledgement or gender reveal parties. But there's like whole events that take place. So yeah, this is when I was hearing about what we celebrate in Kenya. It's very different depending on who you're talking to, besides the more national holidays that are more shared.
Wow.
That's a lot. I mean, I think you've unpacked a lot, Zaytun. Thank you for that. But it also got me thinking about all the different other celebrations in Sudan as I started thinking about my own celebrations here. I think for me, I thought this was only in my household because my dad is actually obsessed with celebrations. Like, I think his philosophy is we would celebrate every child's like anything, like even if even if the grade went from a D to a C plus. There's probably some celebration happening because he believes in that sort of thing. So yeah, and I think it's general as a reflection of just, if I can even generally say, the African culture, where it's we always are about we're about sharing the good, but also celebrating it whenever it happens, yeah, however small it is. And things that are especially symbolic of union, like or family growth, whether it's weddings or a birth of a child, or some, a coming of age story of a child. It's celebrated very heavily and deeply, I think, in communities. I think that the circumcision thing, Zaytun, you mentioned, is also one that's celebrated a lot, and in a very big fashion. It's families coming together to eat, and gifts are exchanged, and I mean, it makes the kid feel good in the sense that, like, everybody's coming to celebrate you, as painful as it may be. But yeah, it's one that's positive, I guess. But even in how we celebrate, I always find it interesting because a lot is centered around food and in the coming together. I mean, there's even, when it comes to food, there in Sudanese culture, I think there are also special dishes that only get cooked in very special occasions, whether it's for Muslims, for example, whether it's in Ramadan, the month of fasting. There's certain dishes that are only get made to honor the certain days of fasting. With Eid also, it's like there are only certain things that hold a very symbolic meaning when it comes to just eating for that particular holiday. So I always find that fascinating when it comes to food. I don't know if anybody else has any other cool food stories, because I love those stories. And yeah, go ahead.
I do, and it was for the first of all, the fact that this was a celebration to me was interesting. So I went to my village for the first time in my life in January 2020. And I was there. First, I was there to convert my family home into a community culture heritage center. But in that process, obviously, I'm meeting my family for the first time, and in telling them this is what I'm doing to preserve our heritage. So I want to learn as much as possible from the stories, from our histories, from our tradition. And you see the uncles and the aunties start telling us about certain holidays, like, for example, the birth of the Prophet, peace be upon him, like Jara was saying, that in the village, this was a huge thing. They'd take their plates and their food, and they'll sing and drum and go to the Nile, grown-ups and children all alike, and they just basically spend the night by the Nile and the moon. And it's just like, this is amazing. And one of the things that I found, and I was scolded for not showing up for that celebration, is when both when a woman gives birth or when a woman's husband passes, she goes back to her family home and she stays there for 40 days, and she doesn't go out, she doesn't leave the house. And on that 40th day, when she is again allowed to rejoin the community, there's a very specific dish that's done, and it's bilila, which I thought was a sweet dish, because in Egypt, bilila is a sweet dish, and I grew up in Egypt. So I was, when I finally did go to the next occasion, because I understood if I miss it, then I'm scolded because I'm not honoring this tradition. So I went, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna be having some bilila, and then they put some beans, some savory beans in front of me. I'm just like, that's not bilila. No, that's not what I know. But understanding why bilila and why these specific beans and the relation of that to the tradition of the 40 days being done, and that this is now you growing back into the community, whether it's you with your child or it's you after, after having lost your husband and, joining the community and thanking them again for showing you the support. Thing is, that day, the entire village, obviously the women specifically, will come to you to celebrate you that you're done with, they call it the isolation, I suppose. Before isolation was COVID related and also daunting. There was something to be celebrated because you were basically pampered for these 40 days and given all the love that your family can pour into you. And then they come to guide you back into the community. It was really amazing. Yeah. And for me, it's really the coming together, it's the getting together. So in what I celebrated for 2020, it was really us and us as people of African ancestry, and how we came together. And it was particularly through Africa Week 2020 and through the reunions that we kept having and all the different people that kept coming through. And in that spirit, I just want to share Beto, who today has a very special celebration. Him and his beautiful queen are celebrating 12 years walking side by side. So much love, Beto.
Congratulations.
Sending you so much love. And really, however we do celebrate it, however we do come together, for me, it's always a joy to see that, to see us together. And it goes differently. Like Ines and I were talking about how we celebrate Eid in Sudan, vis-a-vis celebrating it in the US. And ultimately, it's all about finding our people. Like, we don't go to the mosque and celebrate Eid in the mosque in Sudan, but we do in the US. When we were in the US, at least, we're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to find parking in whatever mosque that's going to inevitably be packed and taking over the neighborhood in parking space and all of that. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling now. That was food, bilila, and that it's not sweet everywhere, and that it's savory in some countries. I learned that.
You know, Dima, it's interesting you mentioned that thing about the 40 days of isolation for a woman who's mourning her husband, because we almost have it on the opposite, which is 40 days after when you have given birth to a child, a woman is to go back to her parents' home and stay there for 40 days. And then at the end of the 40 days, have what we call Afrikan in Somali, which is basically means completion of the 40 days. And what then we do is we invite people from the community, from the family members, on our side, the girl side, the boy side, and then as well as the clan community. So the clan members the clan that we're part of, we invite people from the clan to come and basically eat food and share blessings for the child and the mother for completing this sensitive stage. But then also what happens is now during 40 days, the child isn't taken out of the house. So it's also a coming out for the child into society, because, and what is done during that time is the person whom you want the child to take after in character, personality, heart, goodness, whatever, is the person that then carries the child out of the house. So it could be the aunt of the child. If it's a girl, it could be the mother, the grandmother of the child. It cannot be the mother or the father that take the child out. It could be the grandfather or the grandmother. And so for me, when my niece was born here, my sister told me my sister and her husband told me they wanted me to take her out. And so when I'm taking her out, she has a book. So you put on her a book, a pen, you put some money, and you put the Quran as well, and you hold that all. And when you're walking her out, you read Al-Fatiha 7 times, and praying for her to be successful with her education, to be good with her deen, the religion, to be hopefully very wealthy for herself, of course. But I'm sure the aunt who took her out will benefit. And then, so basically just those symbolic things that you walk the child out with, and then you bring them back in, and throughout that child's life, they're reminded who walked them out. And so every time there's a character or a character trait or personality trait, I mean, that they display that reminds them, or that reminds one of the family members of the one who took them out, it's good to remind that child. And it almost is like a godmother in that sense, right? Or a godfather. There's that connection, extra connection that you're saying somebody has with another person. So that's also, so I just remembered it with the 40 days. When you mentioned the 40 days, I also want to add, I forgot about the other ways we celebrate things as a Somali. We're pastoralists. And so the rain season is an important thing that we celebrate, because we work around the rain season as pastoralists. And so nowadays, with these droughts and climate change and the increasingly long and severe droughts that are taking place, that's kind of one of those things that's turned from celebrating a rain season to sort of putting together events where now it becomes prayers, hoping for the rain season, because it's something that you're lacking. But with the rain season, there's prosperity, there's wealth that comes with it, there's happiness, there's food, and better, just basically a better life for the community. So that's one of the other ways in which we celebrate things. We have celebrations. We celebrate events that are integral to our existence. And as pastoralists, rain was a key component of something that we were dependent on, and for our livelihood.
That's amazing, Zaytun. So the 40 days of the woman giving birth is the same in the Nubian tradition. And
great.
I believe, though, because I missed that part, so I don't know if I wasn't aware that it was something that I had to do to go and see this woman on the 40th day. But I'll have to go and check. But I believe that the child is also taken out on that 40th day, and we go to the Nile, because Nubians used to, I guess, essentially baptize their kids in the Nile. We'd wash the baby's head with water from the Nile. But speaking of celebrating things for your livelihood, we have Mesli here saying, every year in mid-August, I celebrate the rise of the Sirius star just before the sunrise. That's how African people have always celebrated New Year. And that's my tradition as well. So I'm gonna keep carrying it. Besides, it's summertime, so everywhere is warm, making it so much more convenient for everybody. New Year at the beach, that's the way. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Misty. Isn't that summer solstice? And then there's the winter solstice, which I was also learning about in 2020. Ines. Oh, I'm seeing it's 8, which ties in to last words, so we can wrap this up. What are you looking forward to celebrating 2021?
A whole lot more. I don't know if there's a specific thing or incident or life event that I particularly want to celebrate, but I think I just want more of these celebrations considering how 2020 was. But I think for me, it falls more into intentions and just bringing more positivity and sharing more of the good and hearing more about Kwanzaa now. As Taalib had mentioned it, it was fascinating, and admittedly, I didn't really know much about it at all. So I've learned so much today, and just hearing him speak about it and explain the principles. So thank you for that. And as everybody was mentioning, the similarities and how things are celebrated between Kenya, Egypt, Senegal, Sudan, and even interestingly enough, how we carry these traditions and celebrations wherever we end up in the world. And I know in the US, it's interesting too, seeing how we observe these holidays. Like, we definitely celebrate them slightly differently. But the essence of like coming together is at the heart of that, in unity and family, for whatever the celebration is, whether it's religious, some cultural like significance, or a life event, marriage, or given birth or whatnot. And there's just so many different kinds of celebrations too, which is heartwarming. And especially hearing you, Zaytun, talk about the celebrating the rain seasons, and literally just what life is about, and just celebrating that in all different aspects. And I think what I'm looking forward to is, long story short, I'm definitely looking to see incorporating Kwanzaa, celebrating that in this year. And I'm curious to see how it's also it'll be carried across our brothers and sisters everywhere else, and across the continent, and being plugged in to see how that is celebrated there, and keeping kind of in contact with how people are celebrating in communities around me. So that would be really cool to experience Kwanzaa in 2021. So I'll see what that's about. And definitely I got to make sure that I look into the food and see like what's special. Like if there's a special dish every day of Kwanzaa, like that would be amazing. Like that would be my highlight, what I would look for. I mean, I'm definitely going to set my intentions and actually do, like abide by the principles. But I think it's great to also like incorporate that element too, just to look forward to that element of just what kind of food, just trying something new too. So yeah, I'm always here for the food. Always. What is a celebration without the food, you guys? Yeah.
Myron, thank you for joining us again. It was nice to sit back, listen, and learn about the different cultural traditions and the various but quite similar meanings behind them. Yes, absolutely.
Indeed. Yeah, last words. You guys looking forward to anything in 2021 celebrating it differently, or new perspective as to how we celebrate, what you want to bring in from just things that you heard, or in general, your reflections?
I'm looking forward to more reunions. Taalib was ready to say something.
Oh, no, but I wanted to respond back to the sister, the Queen Enos. You can actually prepare. So that was one thing and that's my bad. Literally every day you can prepare a different dish from a different nation or ethnic group on the continent. So you can have, Nubian dish here or on the first, then you can go to Senegal on the second, then back it up to Chad on the third. Like, you literally can do that.
Nice.
And that's actually encouraged. So we look forward to being able to, whether it be virtually or or somehow in person next year around December, we look forward to having different dishes for you, just so that way you can get your palate going.
I'm sold. I'm in. That didn't take much.
Sure. But I know for me, I just look forward to continuing on this year in celebration just of us as a people. But there is one particular celebration that I'm extremely excited about and waiting to do. I actually know exactly the ethnic group that I'm from, so I am looking to be able to celebrate with drums and food from that particular place. I'm looking forward to celebrating that and announcing that, because as soon as I announce and trust and believe, that's all I'm a rep.
That's what's up.
Inas, you should keep the Senegalese dish till as the last day, because we have the best food in Senegal, in Africa.
Oh man, are we really gonna go into this war right now at the last minute?
Oh my God, the first episode. Please go back. If you haven't seen our first episode, please go back to our first episode and understand what did we call Oppression Olympics? Of the jollof rice war must end. This is what I'm looking forward to celebrating in 2021.
It's not even jollof rice.
Of the jollof rice. Did she just say it's not even called jollof rice?
Listen, it's not even jollof. We're not even part of the fight. Like with Senegal, we gave it to the rest of them. They can have it. Yeah, we have other dishes that we're cool with, and that we have the best and quite
Jebujen is the best. I agree. Senegalese
in the whole
food
of the country. My guy, look, even Zaytoun saying Inas, you know, Senegalese
listen,
food.
Somali people, we don't got food. We're pastoralists. We was just struggling out there, and meat was just our thing. So like, y'all got seafood and shit. So excuse me, I think just Senegalese people know how to throw it down.
I think we have another vote here. Mejdi says Senegalese jollof rice won though. Okay.
I'm not in for perpetuating this kind of belief or on food. I am one that accepts anything on the continent as long as it's not goat. And yes, I may fit my African card. I don't eat goat. And I'm
going back to celebrations. Go to a Senegalese celebration, either Eid or Batem, or whatever it is. The food is amazing, amazing. That I can tell you about it. Whatever celebration is, the food is amazing, tasty. We do the meat, chicken, seafood. We do everything. We took paella from the Spanish and we killed it.
You took it from darling. I think it was the other way around. I think they took. It's not the
I think we took that. That dish, we did take it from them. Like, just to be on we did take paella.
You took it from our people who were taken from us and went and did it there. Sure, I'll give you that much. I'll give you that much. Taalib, I was going to ask you if we had a date in mind for that big celebration, and then Yaphet beat me to it, saying, we've been waiting for centuries. The pressure is on.
Yes. So I would love to do it next month if possible. It really does depend on how fast and how soon I can get the specific drummers that I need. But I would, if not next month, then either March or the next would have to be July for my birthday.
July?
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, either within the next 2 months, I would love to be able to do it. And especially if I can do it on around the spring equinox. So when technically the new year really does start or something like that.
Yes.
That would be ideal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's March. We're going to put the intention out. Well, we're going to put the intention out that it works as smoothly and as greatly as it needs to be when it does. And we're just going to hope that we don't have to wait too long, because we've been getting questions on all platforms, Taalib. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a jacket that I've been literally waiting to debut, and and because Yafid lurks around, I have not worn it like in public where, I know he may be, but but I'm waiting to debut that too.
Well, we're looking forward to that. Yafid also said, wait, we have Myron's question, celebrating with live people. Yes, we're looking forward to that, Myron. Please, here's to more celebrations, live and in person. Yafid says, I say we unify the dishes so there isn't any competitions. I say to that. Miss Senegal's dishes are the best. We have a question for you. Does Senegal have official vegan dishes?
We do, actually. My cook makes, she makes cebujan, but with, instead of rice, she'll make it with couscous, or she will make it with fonyo. I don't know if you guys know what fonyo is. It's a grain that we use here. The Mandinka tribe uses a lot, my tribe, the Mandinka tribe. Fonyo or couscous. And instead of the rice, we use that to make the jollof rice or cebujan. So like the cebu. So instead of rice, so we do find ways. We use other grains that are not like just rice and stuff. Fonyo, we have chere, which is another one. So we can get into all of this, and I think in another thing about food that we can have. But we definitely do have some vegan, dishes.
And then we have Meshdi coming here and saying, that's not true, sis. It's the other way around. The Spanish have stole the paella recipe from the West African Black Moors, were brought rice to Europe. Thank you, Meshdi.
Okay, I guess we didn't steal it. We just made it better.
You reclaimed it. You reclaimed it as our own.
Some magic.
And I guess it's still amazing. So I prefer the one we make. So
wonderful. We have a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of food coming through, and hopefully many, many reasons to come together to enjoy and to continue thriving and growing. Keep coming together, please. And keep sharing this magic. I've learned so much from all what we've shared here. It's amazing to see the similarities. Zaytoun, I think I'm going to adopt that tradition of who walks the child out. I really, really like that. To have it resonate, or to have the child be carried by someone whose character we want them to take over. I really, really like that. I need to read more about it
too, actually, but very different from what you guys have. We do it 7 days after the child is born, the day of their batem, the naming ceremony. But it's not the person. It's usually your premier njeke. I don't know how to translate that in English. The husband's sister or cousin, like a female on the husband's side, as your njeke. I don't know how to translate that in English. I'm so sorry. It's a Wolof word. And she's the one that like brings the baby out, and they shave the baby a little. Now I see they only take, like when it's a girl, they don't shave the whole head, but when it's a boy, they shave the whole head, and then say the Quran and say that, well, they do the adhan in I think the right ear, and then say the baby's name, and basically they will give a whole sermon about how special the baby's name is and whatnot. But we do something quite similar, but it's not like, it's usually someone from the husband side, and then they get like covered this material called darafano. I'm so sorry, I can't pronounce that as well. It's a Mandinka word that we put on that, like this cloth. So yeah, but it's similar to what Zaitun said.
I have a quick question about that before we wrap up, if I may. And I would love different perspectives on like the culture of it. When do you name your child? In your traditional cultures, when do you actually name the child? And how does that come to be?
Well, for us in our country, the Senegambian Mali side, the name is revealed 7 days after the child is born. But the parents, of course, have discussed it, weeks before, of course, the child is born. And what usually, I mean, of course, with Islam, having a heavy impact is Muslim name, but usually what we do is usually named after someone.
Mm-hmm.
Either it will be your grandfather or great grandfather or whatever. Like usually that's where so like you go to a big, especially if you go to the villages, sometimes you go to, especially if it's a Mandinka village, you go there and you say the name Bakari, and there will be like 10 Bakaris would say yes, like you would answer, or you would say Lamin. We love the word, we love the name Lamin. Or you say Fatu or Jara, and then you would have like 5 or 15 Jaras, and then it would be like, oh no, we mean like Jara, daughter of this person. But the name is usually, well, for us, it's 7 days after the child is born.
I think it varies. It varies for how it's done. I mean, again, because things are changing, and now you have sonograms, and the gender before, and all of that. So people have picked the names and decided it well before, and sometimes it's even this is something I found in the village, that traditionally you name the child after someone in the family, and who has transitioned or passed away, but if for whatever reason you name a child after someone who's alive, it's taken as an offense, because it's kind of seen as you're basically saying it's time for that person to go, and not necessarily as you're trying to honor that person. So I found that really interesting. I don't actually know about like, I know some people know the name, like it's either come to them in a dream. I've heard many people say, I know that this is the name, this is the child I'm getting a child named so and so, and I've seen that, and been in conversations where that's kind of normal, and it's sort of expected, but most of the times I think it's like what Jara said, it's just named after someone in the family. In at least in my village, in my family, it's normally named after someone who's transitioned. I don't know for everyone else.
I think for Somalis, I don't think there's really any much special event around it. Most of the people just say, yeah, the name is this, and then that's just kind of like passed on. But it depends on, at least for me, my family, I don't think any of our siblings were actually named by my parents. It was always somebody else that gave out the name, and it was somebody that felt like they had some sort of a special connection with the birth of that time. So somebody called me Zaytun, and that's kind of what stuck, and everybody was like, all right, Zaytun works. But my mom is known to have different names for all of us. So there's what my mother wanted to call us all, but there's what another community, Jara is laughing at me, but there was just what another community member sort of came in the way of. And so for me, the name that mom calls me by isn't necessarily Zaytun, but it's more of Kafia, which is, it's actually a sentence, Kafia wa Kafse, which is basically the one who is in for me, because at the time when I was born, I happened to be the third girl, And so some people were like, oh, it's another girl. They were kind of hoping for a boy. And my mom's response was basically that she is enough for me. So in response to people that made comments about me not being a boy, although I don't know, pretty much a tomboy. So a lot of the ones who were hoping that I was a boy may have gotten their wish indirectly. Anyway. So there's nothing really special. I think over here people just name what comes to their mind, and parents, depending on who that person is and their standing in the community, may in respect to that person, will adopt that name as the name of the child, unless somebody with authority kind of overrules everybody else and basically says the name that they choose is what we'll choose for that. But I guess that's where that whole community thing, and it's not this parent, it's not just the child of these two people, it's the child of the whole community. So people feel the right that they feel the right to name that child for that reason.
Thank you all.
Thank you for that great question, Taalib. Actually, like Zaytun was saying, also sometimes it's depending on the situation, or some people will choose a letter and stick to it for all their kids. Like my maternal grandmother chose the letter M, and all her children were going to be starting with the letter M. And then my mom, as she was being born, their neighbor was coming down. He was blind, and he was calling on his daughter to take him to prayer, and his daughter's name was Nadia. So just as my mom's coming out, he called out Nadia, and so they called my mom Nadia. And so she kind of like broke the M rule and broke a lot of other things along the way, a lot of other rules along the way. In my case, it was raining. It started raining the day I was born, and my dad was rushing home from was rushing to the hospital from work, and so his co-worker was saying, Dean, because it was so my name is Dima, and the word Dima means the cloud that carries the first drop of rain and keeps on pouring. So that's what I was called, and there was kind of no questions or no arguments about that. Very interesting how the thoughts that go into names and then choosing our names. Like, for example, my mom wanted to call my older sister something. She wanted to call her Pensée, or like the flower pansy. And my paternal grandmother only speaks Nubian. She doesn't speak Arabic. So there are certain letters, even in Arabic, that she can't pronounce because we don't have them in the Nubian language. And so my father's first concern is like, my mother won't be able to pronounce that, so we're not going to call her that. Just to put that to the side and find another discussion. Thank you for that question, Taalib. It's as always, you leave us with more to think about and more to dig deeper on. And Mejdi also seems to appreciate this conversation. Like, we need to have more dialogues like this to help keep African traditions alive.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, thank you. I think we're a little over time because we can keep, as we all know, we can just keep talking and talking for hours. So just to be mindful also of people's time, we extend huge thank you and appreciation to Taalib for joining us and being our first guest. We learned a lot, and thank you for providing new perspective and sharing knowledge. And that's what we're here for. And I hope this was as wholesome or even more than it was also for us. So thank you for sharing your time and sharing your knowledge as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Yep. And then our next episode is January 24th. So we'll definitely stay tuned on our page. We'll be posting our next topic. But in the meantime, we'll get prepped for that. but we're excited for 2021. We have a lot of great positive things coming up. Thank you, Mejdi, for tuning in and all your comments. That's what we want. We want the engagement. We want people to tune in, add their perspective. I mean, we're all just sharing also our perspectives and our knowledge here. So we hope for the space to be one as such also for others to also, whether he's either sharing their knowledge, corrections to certain dishes, or participating and also sharing something new and bringing in the positivity and all. So thank you for that. So stay tuned for our next reveal for our next discussion on January 24th. And until then, we fare you all well, and positivity and all blessings and peace in 2021. So thank you all for tuning in. Peace and blessings.
Peace, peace. Keep coming together.
Yes.